Please welcome Alfie Payne.
So the internet exists in an infinite number of parallel universes. In each of those universes, the presentation of the internet is totally different. When I scroll my social media feed, I get a totally different set of results to you. I use a different email client to you to get different promotional correspondence into my inbox to you. You use a different web browser to load your favorite video streaming service, which is different to mine. Yet at the same time, in each of our universes, the protocols and principles of how those services work are identical. And they have been since CERN released the source code of the World Wide Web back in the 1990s. Our universes use the same algorithms to curate content, the same methods to encrypt traffic, the same DNS resolution methods. When I move my website from a .com domain to a .org domain, I use the same methods to tell our universes that that has happened. But we access that new domain in different ways. Same protocols, different presentation methods. As technology, and specifically the internet, enters a period of real evolution change with the wide-scale introduction of generative artificial intelligence, we are, for the first time in a generation, going to see the change of protocols at the core of our individual but parallel universes change. And I think that change of protocols and presentation method prompts another question too. Do the internet's governance and safety measures need to evolve as well? So today I thought we could have a bit of fun and run some thought experiments to understand what may or may not need to change in this period of evolution. And it is because of this change in evolution that I believe that right now, those working in web and software engineering and digital marketing have the biggest responsibility in a generation. We need to determine what safeguards and boundaries are going to be put in place to ease the integration of artificial intelligence into humanity. A laissez-faire attitude may not be appropriate here. There's too much at stake. Livelihoods, education, health, free speech and truth all risk being damaged or hindered. So, this can be explored through practical examples that are easy to understand. Let's imagine that someone asks an AI agent how to get rid of their headache. The agent suggests that they take the wrong medication, which they do. They then die. Has a crime been committed? Who by? In one universe, the answer is easy. We take the well-established common law principle of what's called the Ryland versus Fletcher case. If the defendant uses land for a non-natural use, which was likely to cause mischief and damage to another's land, which was foreseeable damage, they are to be held liable. This is easy to understand when we translate it to the relationship between a server hosting company and their customers. It is usually the responsibility of the client to keep the server and the data they hold on it secure. They are responsible for defending against attacks and leaks. Now, with all laws, that case law, it maintains some defences. However, those defences might no longer be possible to determine. How do we determine whether generative artificial intelligence has a common benefit? Liability is void if it was the consequence of the act of a stranger. So do we say now that tenants of artificial intelligence are going to be classified as strangers? In one universe, we hold big tech accountable and suggest that it is their responsibility to prevent such an occurrence from happening. In another, it's not their fault, it was the misuse of the user. Do we wish to believe that the latest evolution of technology is so free-thinking that no human creator can be held accountable? What about when AI itself isn't the criminal, but it is the weapon? It is quicker and easier than ever before for businesses and brands to develop and deploy applications and campaigns. In one world, It means that businesses and brands get to market quicker than ever before, and people get products and services with increased relevance more easily than ever before. It's great. But it can also mean that a scammer can intimidate a brand and defraud someone quicker than ever before. Except, perhaps a scammer didn't actually defraud someone. Perhaps artificial intelligence did. After all, if AI schemed the scam and wrote the code, who actually is the fraudster? In one universe, these questions are simple and easy to answer. But in another, they are truly complex. But the thread that stitches all of the universes together is the underlying feeling of confidence. And my question is, how do we determine that confidence? I'd like to turn to more theoretical questions and ideas now, where the impact is perhaps less obvious. So, for instance, what happens when we start turning to artificial intelligence for emotional support rather than our fellow humans? Let's imagine a world where a large language model gets to know every personal detail there is to know about you. Not just likes and dislikes or your star sign, but truly everything. Your decision-making processes, your moral and ethical boundaries, your reflexes. Rather than turning to a counsellor, you turn to your highly personal agent for help navigating a challenging and emotional situation. Will that LLM offer the depth of perspective that we as humans need in order to grow and develop our emotional intelligence skills? In one universe, might we as humanity start to look for unconditional positive regard in all interactions with therapy now? After all, what exposure and experience can AI use to provide a secondary perspective? Or is there another universe where AI is so well integrated that it is always listening and always present and is empowered to effectively provide a truly unique perspective? How about the use of AI in teaching and learning of young people? When teachers deliver a lesson, they don't know what from that lesson is going to stick with a young person, especially the off-curriculum matters. I still remember the name of Mr. T's dogs and Mrs. C's favourite paint colour and Miss R's ability to build rapport and a sense of safety with a group of students she'd never taught before. In one universe, all of that is irrelevant because it didn't help me to learn material facts or gain qualifications. But in another, the social scaffolding that was provided was more important than the curriculum content that helped me pass the exams. Artificial intelligence does not have a concept of how to provide social scaffolding and will almost always be focused instead on the successful delivery of content. In the world where we are more focused on content delivery and fact learning, do we risk by accident actually becoming dumber? Is there a world where generalist careers are no more because we become hyper-intelligent in one area? These are all reasons why the responsibility is with us today to decide on how we are going to safeguard humanity as we integrate artificial intelligence into society. Because if we leave it to tomorrow, we are unsafe, we are dumb, we risk societal regression. I should of course point out at this point, this is not the first time we are seeing this movie. A new invention comes along, we have to decide how to adopt it, and we coexist and integrate with it. The difference is that this time around, we're writing the script in real time, and nobody's in real agreement with how the ending should go. I pose the question, why is it that cars have seatbelts? Why is it that there is voltage regulation for electricity supply into our homes and offices? History teaches us that every mass-adopted invention is, relatively shortly, followed by the introduction of measures to protect us. We've proven that we can shoehorn safety procedures into existing industries, such as aviation in the early 2000s. But we've also proven we can proactively provide safety measures in industries simultaneously to their launch, such as in the 2010s with the launch of fintech products. So we know that in our parallel universes, both approaches are possible. The question is, what is right for this evolution? Should we fast forward and put safeguards in place now? Or do we need to wait for some kind of disaster to happen before we decide to put them in place? If governments get involved too early, do we risk accidental authoritarianism? And if they wait too long, Do we risk too much of a permissive regime where the likes of monopolies and ungovernable activities become the normality? Perhaps that risk grows when we start to think about the monetization of artificial intelligence. It feels like a natural evolution that, at some point, brands will be able to pay to play, and in some scenarios, artificial intelligence will start to express bias in favour of the highest bidder. In one universe, it's an accepted fact that that's how it works, and this is a well-proven model of sponsorship, and it will continue to work with this new technology. It's considered a cost of the open web. And let's remember, the open web is going to cost more than ever before because of the computing costs and the energy costs required for AI. But in another universe, AI protocols become entirely open sourced, and organizations, employers, advertisers control agents' priorities and biases. That's a much more fragmented world to imagine, and far more independent than how digital marketing has worked to date, but is also possible. And if we have a world where brands can indeed start to pay to influence AI's opinion and facts about them, on what basis might that operate? What sort of bias will models start to develop? And how do we maintain the balance between promotion and propaganda? Are we in a universe where the promoted facts and truth will always be that of shareholders? All of these worlds are in a state of constant and rapid evolution. In just the last week, we had the launch of product listings displaying in OpenAI's ChatGPT responses, and soon brands will be able to provide directly product data feeds. In one universe, this helps consumers to make quicker purchasing decisions and signals the end of product comparison websites. In another, this is the start of market share consolidation, where it gets harder for new brands to emerge and fight for share of voice. These are all reasons why we need to collaborate with urgency to decide the path for how we're going to integrate artificial intelligence into humanity. That is a collective responsibility across all of us who are building and using and integrating and promoting technology in the modern world. This is our moment to decide what is acceptable, what is safe, and what our boundaries are. We have to take charge and lead and manage this collectively and have a conversation about it. Thank you very much.